Well, as I get older, I learn that there is no exact science to life. That if we could measure and calculate everything to perfection, then things would be perfect. But it's not the case. However, to balance that thought, I've also learned that measuring things and having the math and the science play a part, and sometimes a big part, in your decisions and how you live life is very wise, and more times than not, it should lead you down the right path. Now, again, I can't say that I always know the right path because I'd be lying, anyone be lying, but I want to share with you how measurement, collecting data, looking at data, studying it, math, science in a practical, everyday way helped me. Measuring. The first thing that helped me start to get ahead financially, and it took a while, was measuring how much I make and measuring how much I spend out on a monthly basis. I caught myself one day driving and listening to the radio, and I was like, wow, I always worked, so I never had that problem. I was able to produce income. But I was like, man, I know I'm spending a little bit more than I should, but I wonder where all my money's going. I don't feel like I'm getting ahead. And I was listening to the radio. It was Dave Ramsey, and he was kind of basically, getting at the fact that one of his driving points is to have a budget, right? To measure your income, measure your expenses. That's science. That's measurement. Not just go by the feel, because I was kind of just going by the feel. Well, I can buy this, I can do this, because I know that, I feel I got enough to make the payments or make it work, right? But as I started to measure it, and it took a while, everything evolves, but I was starting to be conscious to look deeper into specific numbers. And over time, that helped me be more aware of where my money was going, how much risk I was taking in certain areas, how foolish I was being in certain areas. And it didn't solve everything because we're still human. We still make the same mistakes and we still go by impulse sometimes and things like that. So, but it helped. Measurement helped. And then the other major instance was my health. For a season of my life, I let myself go because I felt like, I could always rebound. I just ate. I'm talking physically. I ate everything I wanted to eat every day for years. And it was great. I enjoyed it for a season of life. But then I knew that eventually, before I get too old, I'm going to have to, start to get my health together. So when I got into my 30s, I just started working out. I went by feel, like how I did when I was young. Just start, playing sports and lifting weights. That's how you get in shape when you're young. You don't really measure things. You can eat whatever you want for the most part. But that didn't work, and I ended up hurting myself because I wasn't measuring the food. I was just kind of working out. And then over time, and again, it takes time, and no one's perfect, I started to become more health conscious, and I looked at the labels on the food, okay? And of course now, there's even labels when you go in fast food restaurants, right? So not just calories though, not just fat, but sugar and sodium, at least being aware of how much you should intake on an average day and how much, is recommended. And that helped. That still helps. I remember one time being in I don't know, like a gas station or something. I was looking in the back of a label, and there was some lady. She was like, I don't like to look at the back of the labels. Then I'll never eat anything. And I understand that because I used to have that mindset, in some regards. But I like to look at the back of the label. I don't always necessarily make the best choice, but I try to make a better choice. Okay? Measurement. And then, measurement, the final bullet point is like measurement of risk, because that's what measurement does. You're kind of calculating risk, calculating how much you're allocating to one thing to the other. And certainly there's times in life where you take great risks. Certainly in times in life, you'll learn that many risks fail. But living below your means is measuring your income, measuring your expenses. Being conscious of what you eat is measuring the amount of sugar intake, sodium intake. Not buying too much house, not buying too much car, looking at your salary, looking at the expense of a house, expense of a car. Even being a nomad, I always calculate, okay, well, I'm taking extreme risk here. If I get sick, hurt, or injured, what's my backup plan? If I sell this and I don't have this to go to, if I would buy a home base, this kind of mitigates some of my risk. It puts some money in a stable asset, and I have somewhere to park. If I sell my home base or I sell my RV, I have no place to park. Where am I going to put this money? I don't want to put too much in risk. I'm measuring. And again, I don't want to beat my chest that I have figured out life, because you don't. Anyone would be lying to you. There's no exact science, but measurement and science, it kind of, okay, I don't want to buy a car more than $30,000. Why? Well, you got to look at your income, you got to look at your expenses, and you don't want to buy a house more than $200,000. Why? You got to look at your income, you got to look at your expenses. Whatever it is for you, whatever, I'm throwing out numbers, and they're all adjustable, because you can, sometimes take from here and put from there, and everyone has a different lifestyle. But there's only so much you can take and only so much you can give. SpaceX doesn't launch rockets into space by gut. They measure it. There's an extreme engineering science to putting rockets in the sky. And there is no exact science. Because I remember when Elon Musk was on his third or first attempt to get into space, and he measured everything, and he had failed 3 times. And on the final attempt, he admitted in an interview, he prayed to God. He said, God, please let this rocket work. It's my last chance, or else SpaceX will be bankrupt. So even great engineers recognize there's a limit to how much you can measure. You need faith. But for those who have great faith without science, that's delusion. You need balance, measurement. And now, as I think about the different directions I may or may not want to go, right? I kind of think about that. Well, if I get rid of this, how does that make me vulnerable? If I acquire this, how does that affect my finances? It's just measurement. But I wish you luck in whatever you decide in life, because there is no exact science, and we all need grace. But we should put effort into trying to make the best decision possible. Sometimes I said, God, man, I'm trying to do everything wise, and I still feel pain. Why? I don't know, but I could just say to myself, well, if I do everything reckless, I know where that leads. So, certainly you don't want to be too good, but certainly you don't want to be too bad. You want to find some balance, right? So that's kind of the overall message as well. Okay, thank you for watching.